Hey everyone, my name is Joe, and I'm going to show you today how to use the Google Sheets query function with a couple of constraints. We're going to use the and, we're going to use the or, and we'll use the equals and the contains today. So right now, as you can see, I've got a Google Sheet here. And I have 160 rows of data. It's got the first name, last name, phone number, and then the address broken out into its individual components. So that's, one column has street, one column has the suite or the apartment, one column has the zip code, and so on and so forth. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here into cell K1. We're going to type in equals and Q, and it's going to give us this drop down. And query is the first option most of the time. So we can just hit tab and it'll auto-complete that query for us. And then our first parameter is we're going to select our query area that we're going to take a look at. So this is our query range. We're going to hit comma to go to our next parameter. And then we're going to open a double quotation and we're going to say select with a capital S. And we're going to say star for all. And we're going to plug in a where statement. So where, and let's look at the states. So column H with a capital H, not a lowercase h. And let's say it's equal to, and then anytime you want to specify what it's an individual string that you want it to look at, you open that up with a single quote, and then you type in, let's say, South Dakota, and then close that off with a single quote. And for now, let's just close this all the way off with a double quote and a parenthesis and hit enter. And now we can see everyone who lives in South Dakota. So let's say we wanted to increase this. Let's expand our parameter search and say everyone in South Dakota and Nevada. And so what we do is we come in here after our first where statement and we put in a space and we simply say and H, capital H, is equal to, and then we open with a single quote and we type in Nevada and then we close that single quote and then we finish off our query structure with a double quote and a parenthesis and hit enter. And for some reason, oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake there. So what we've done, we're getting 0 results back, and that is correct. So we're looking for people, the way this query is set up is it's looking for people who live in South Dakota and live in Nevada. And since there's no one that has 2 states that they live in, that is incorrect. Or it'll return 0 results. But what we can do is we can replace this and with an or. And so now we're going to find people who either live in South Dakota or in Nevada. We hit enter, and now we've got a subset of people that live in South Dakota or Nevada. Okay. Now, if we wanted to, we could even order that and say order by, and let's column H for the state. And now it's going to alphabetize by state, Nevada, and then South Dakota. Okay. Now, if we want to look at an and property, honestly, I haven't looked at this data set too terribly much, but we can try some things here. We can say and a person who, let's say their zip code. So F, column F is equal to 22432. And I got this from this cell right here in F2. So that's going to be, so this should return at least this one row back, right? This one person lives in South Dakota and is in this zip code. If we hit enter, oh, we got no results back. Now, if I remember correctly, numbers are a little bit different. There it is. Okay. So that's one thing to keep in mind. When you're running a query on a table. The query function looks at numbers and strings as different types of objects. Strings are required to be held inside of a single quotation. Numbers are not. Conversely, if you have a field that has numbers and letters in it, that is considered a string. Okay, even if it starts with a number, if there is a letter in it somewhere, it is considered a string. Or any other type of special character, question mark, an exclamation point, anything of that nature. Now, one thing that you may run into is if the string that you're looking for has a single quote in it, and that quote or that string has to be surrounded by single quotes, it can confuse the query. So it's honestly the best solution is to find a way to not include strings that have single quotes in them. All right, so that covers the and the or and the order by. Now let's take a look at contains. All right, so I'm going to delete that second part of that query off. We're going to hit enter, and now we're looking at everyone who lives in South Dakota. But let's say we want to look at people who live in North and South Dakota. Now we could say, where H is equal to South Dakota or H is equal to North Dakota. The other option is that we can just remove the south and north portion and just say Dakota, and then change this equal to contains and hit enter. And now we're looking at everyone who lives in South Dakota and North Dakota. Okay. Um, another option is, let's say that we want to see everybody whose name starts with the letter or has the letter E in it, right? So we would say where column B for last name contains a capital E, and there we go. Now we have everyone whose last name contains a capital E in it. Now we could, and that is different than a lowercase e. So as you can see now, that's a much larger list, but this is everyone in this list whose last name contains a lowercase e. All right, so simple, quick demo. That is how we can use the Google query function with an or, an equals, or a contains. All right. If you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below. I'll answer them as I can or make a new video, whichever ways I think would be the best way to answer your questions. But yeah, so there you go. If you like this video, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and be notified when I put out new content. You guys have a wonderful day.